Well, let's try and wrap this up. We're pretty close to having it finished. Actually, this could be considered finished. Like I said, you could paint the eyes in if you wanted. I did take some time and clean up my cuts and clean away the fuzzies after the last video, which I kind of told you I was going to do. I didn't think I needed to spend the time in the video showing you that, but really all I'm doing is where I see fuzzies, just taking light cuts, cleaning up, trying to make sure to go with the grain, that it doesn't lift the grain. Like I keep saying, trying to make my cuts match in the bottom. That when they, whether it's a V cut or a diamond shaped cut, that they meet at the bottom. These transition areas are tough because you need to come down the grain like that, up the grain like that, and where it meets, it always wants to let a hairy edge. Some of that can be eliminated by taking your knife and kind of rolling it, kind of making a slicing cut. That'll help. And by the way, I want to thank any of you that are watching and paying attention and watching through. I know that I haven't been doing very good with these videos. I guess there's an apprenticeship that you have to serve with anything you try to do that's new. Just like if you're a beginning carver, you're going to go through some struggles trying to get good results. It's not going to go easy. I'm not going to give up on it. I ordered a different camera that I hope will help. I've been trying to find out how to edit things, watching YouTube videos, but unfortunately after I watch a video and try and go to the screen and call it the same screens, I find out that it may have been an older video and those functions are no longer available, or it's in a different form. So I did learn that I need to watch videos that are more recent, not even from 2017, because the advice given in those videos is not current and may not work for what I'm trying to do. Somehow or another, video part 5 of this is turned sideways. I, for the life of me, have no idea why it's turned sideways. The camera was in the upright position the way it was for the other videos. I went on to see if there was some way to rotate it, like when you can edit and clean up pictures. Well, I guess you realize I have found no answer to that, not yet. If I do, I'll change it and correct it. I'm going to keep trying to learn more about it, but I'm feeling a little frustrated with these videos right now, to be honest with you. Okay, finishing this up. And I keep finding new things that I want to clean up. Little hairs and little pieces of dust that maybe didn't fall out. If you want to do the eye, it's tough to do the smaller eye, but we'll give it a go. And it's always kind of nice to have the eyes looking in one direction, not just dead center. So we'll put an eyeball that way and put an eyeball over to this side of the eye. And all of this is going to be very, very light cuts. That's why I suggested that we switch to maybe an X-Acto knife like this. See how skinny that blade is compared to the thickness of the rougher, the sturdier roughing in knife, I guess you might want to call it. And to start with, we're just going to cut out a triangle. Take notice, I'm not going straight in. If I'm trying to cut, I need to have the knife go on an angle like this through the wood and an angle like this through the wood so that it lifts this chip out. It's like chip carving. If you ever get involved and want to try chip carving, that's another really neat thing. A lot of beginning carvers, this is the surface of the wood. They stick the knife straight down here and they stick it straight down here. Well, everything's still connected here. You need to put the knife in on an angle so that it connects at the bottom. So I'm just going to kind of push the knife in, center the corner of the eye there, and push it in over to where I have that eyeball drawn. Actually, the iris. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the top, and then right next to the iris, I'm going to go down again and hopefully lift a little triangle chip out. Once that chips out, I'm going to round at the iris and kind of draw along to simulate the lower eyelid. Trace lightly to simulate the upper eyelid, and just kind of V out and round over the iris. I don't know if you hear one of my dogs barking in the background. I suspect that means the deer are out back. She would like to go out and play. I don't think the deer want to play, but she wants to play. Just real light little cuts here. Real easy to have everything chip away and go away and lose the whole eye. Cut out a little bit in at the corner of the nose. It's very careful, very light cuts. And they're not going to need, they don't need to be very deep to show that detail. Even just a parting of the grain with a knife blade will show the detail. Tracing around and around. Over here, knife cut in, cut in, a triangle chip, trying to make it meet at the bottom so it lifts out. If you have to go back in, make sure to go back in on those same lines. Get that chip to lift out cleanly. Don't pry it out. Get it to come out. Trace around the iris a little bit to simulate the eyelids, or create the eyelids. And just work that around a little at a time. Small little cuts, light little cuts. You're pretty much going completely across the grain. You're not doing much with the grain at this point. And when you cut across the grain like that, you weaken the grain quite a bit. And it can be hard to hold the detail that you might want to hold. Try and get over to the corner of the eye. Trace that upper lid. By the way, I found out, didn't realize it, didn't think about it, didn't notice until I started carving and trying to get better at carving. The lower eyelid doesn't move. Stays in place. It's the upper lid that moves up and down to close the eye or cover the eye. I don't know if that's a little known fact, but it was for me. Maybe at one point, if I get better at these videos, I'll do an eye carving video. That's always a problem. It's always really tough to do. Carving faces, eyes, hands, some of the more difficult work that carvers are faced with. Another trick I learned as a beginning carver when I had to carve caricatures with hands, I made sure they were in their pockets or folded. That way I didn't have to carve the hand. Worked out pretty good. Still do it sometimes. So, you'll keep doing that and refining it until you get it where you want. I think generally you're getting the idea of what I did there. The other thing you're going to want to do, you can see we put a couple of smile lines in here, and you can put some other wrinkles and things in. The smile lines usually come down from inside the corner of the nose and go around the mouth. But in this caricature, it's kind of hard to see all that. But I think it does give it some character to have those in. Just a simple V-cut. And again, trying to slant the knife so that when I come the opposite direction and slant the knife, it lifts right out. And then you can go back around and soften that hard edge and make it more round. Or you could let it alone. You could put maybe a little bit of a bag under the eye. Just another little V-cut. side of the face, underneath the eye. None of this is necessary, it all works without that, but if you want to, you can. Yeah, it works even without this. But it's fun to try things. V-cut again for this smile line. Harder to do on this right side of the face because it's so crammed up with the hat. It's hard to get the slope of the knife that you might want. Create that little more defined lower eyelid there. Eye cover, eyelid. You can cut up and under the brow and deepen that. Just work little bits at a time. And if you want to put some more wrinkles in, do it. You could maybe put a wrinkle or two above the nose at the brow line. Like I said, just light cuts. When you go to finish this, those cuts are going to stand out. You're going to see them fairly easily. You won't see them, they don't look very pronounced or very prominent now. But when you put an oil on to finish, or some sort of clear or paint, they'll stand out. So, that's if you wanted to put the eye and things in. If you wanted and you had a gouge, you could make this fur piece in the ball. You could put little gouge marks in it. You could cut hairs in the beard and the mustache with a veiner, but I think it gets to be a little bit too much because you can't draw every individual hair anyway. So I think that's pretty much it. Once again, I need to spend some time cleaning up little ragged edges, a little more time around the eyes. I think the eyes on the new one are a little better than the old one actually. But the other thing I like to do with this is put just like a little chip carving on the back. Just a little Christmas tree. Don't have to spend a lot of time on it. Just adds another little dimension to that ornament. And here we are again, chip carving. If you have a chip carving knife, I would get it out now and use it. V cuts and lift out the V. Lift out the chip. On an angle to meet at the bottom. On an angle to meet at the bottom from the other direction. Tip of this knife's off a little bit. It's one thing that I find about these X-Acto knife blades. I do use this X-Acto knife, obviously for the smaller work, lighter work, and different things. But for the most part, this one has a hook right now. I don't know if I bet it doing the eye. I find that I'm using the tip. I don't use much of the blade back here. So when I get something like that bent tip, I'll take a file or a stone and just file that off, and then I have a new tip. And I don't have a file or a stone right here on my bench. The other thing that you'll want to do is make sure to sign your work. I actually learned this. It always seemed kind of egotistical to me to sign my work, but a friend of mine that does wood turning, a lot of wood turning, he said, it's important to sign it if for no other reason to compare your work and see your progress. The piece that you carved today, hang it on the tree, put it on a shelf, hang it from a curtain rod, and let it there and enjoy it. Continue to work. A year from now, go back, see the date on that, and look at the one that you just did. Compare your work to your own work. Don't compare it to others. And see the progress you made by continuing on and continuing to work over the period of a year, or maybe more than a year. That tends to be somewhat encouraging and keeps you working to do more. So generally, that's the simple Santa ornament. As you get more proficient, you'll find that you could probably do one of these in, oh, maybe a half hour or so. Final thing, part it away from the holding block. And there it is, ready for just finish, like these. These just have an oil finish on.